done a few things to improve our operations there. And at the same time, we brought that wait time down quite significantly. So we're actually right around goal. Going into November, we were right at that 2-minute goal line. So that's a significant change that's happened in the center. We're continuing to make changes in the call center as well. Not only have we expanded the number of people that are now supporting both the birding associate care line and the customer care line, we're also making a significant investment in our phone system. So, nothing simple, as we know about this business. And as we first started looking at some of the challenges we were having in the call center, we very quickly realized that one of the problems we had is we didn't have a phone system that was really able to grow with the business, and that required a significant investment, and we've made that investment. And in the next few weeks, we'll be implementing a brand new phone system in the office, which is it's a tremendous thing, and it really is going to help the entire organization. It's going to help us manage efficiency. So I'll put up the next slide, which is really just the associate care line, and it shows a similar story. Abandonment rates come down significantly. The wait times have also come down significantly, not quite as exactly where we want it to be, but it's getting close to that 2-minute goal line. So we're getting all the way down there. Some of the other things we've been looking at on the efficiency side, some of the metrics we've been looking at this is another great example, paper enrollments. Many people are still sending in paper enrollments, which are fine. What we realized when we started looking at these paper enrollments across other parts of our business, we realized that the percentage of customers that were actually being accepted through these paper enrollments and actually getting to become a real customer was somewhere in the 60% range. And that number was significantly lower than what we were seeing in other parts of our organization. And so we started to drill into this and try to understand, well, why? What is going on here? And in doing that, we made just a few little tweaks to our process, made some changes, and as you can see over the last few months, we've actually got that number touching 90%. And I think we can actually get it a little bit higher. Excuse me. I think we can actually get a little bit higher, closer to 100%, because every customer that's coming in, every customer that comes in, we want to be able to get them all the way into flow. I mean, that's our goal. We don't want to have anybody missing. We don't want to have anybody fall through the cracks. And part of the process we're putting in place is tracking every customer who signs up all the way back to flow and identifying where there's a problem, where there's a gap. And I know over the past, probably several months, there have been a lot of challenges in customers not converting from pending to active. Right? I've been getting a lot of emails. I see the challenges that are out there. We have a very big focus on fixing our data and ensuring that we have a very streamlined data flow from when a customer comes in the door all the way to flow, and improving that transparency and visibility so that not only can you see it, but we want to be able to see it. We actually want to be able to see the problems before you see the problems. So that's the goal. The goal is so that we're identifying these things and reacting to them and being proactive about them before we actually have to take an inbound call. So I just want to spend a minute on this, on some of the reject reasons that we're seeing here. Some of the biggest ones, incomplete application. That's a basic one. I think, ineligible or incomplete, we should be able to correct that. There's no reason why we should not be able to get something that we can't read and then it gets pushed back. That just delays the enrollment, it increases our processing time, it costs more money at the end of the day because it's more manual handling. So the more we can eliminate that, the better. The rates don't match. That's a simple one as well. The rates are posted all the time, so if we're using an outdated rate, it's going to get rejected. So that should be a simple one as well. And finally, just the supporting documentation. We ask for some information to be supported, to be enclosed with that enrollment. Let's make sure those are there, and we'll be able to get the enrollments on. We also looked at some of the commercial enrollments, and this one's an interesting one in that we're looking to really grow the commercial business, as we talked about earlier today. And on the commercial side, there's a few things I think. We were actually seeing a pretty high accept rate once we get all the information in. It actually tends to be pretty high. Where I think we're actually not getting the looks is really our close rate on some of the large commercial is pretty low. And I think there it's really just focusing on what type of opportunities we're going after and what can we do to ensure that we're getting the best opportunity to bid on that business. You know, use your relationships if it's a relationship. If we're simply bidding with a lot of other marketers out there, it's tough for us to win that business. But if you have a relationship and you get a last look on a deal, that's going to help us close it, because we can come back, we can take a look at where we need to be, and we'll do everything we can to make sure that we can try and win that business. Because, you know, again, we're trying to get as many customers as we can. We want to grow that business. Commercial is a huge push for us this year. So to the extent we can do that, you know, we're going to be as flexible as we can to try and pick up that business. And, you know, it's another thing on the commercial side, which I find really interesting, is it's a great way to validate where we are. And I'll just give you a quick example. We have been bidding fairly recently on a very large portfolio of customers in Con Ed territory. And there were 7 other bidders in this territory, and we were right in the middle of the pack. And I've been getting some feedback this is through a broker, so I've been getting some feedback on these deals. And it's actually encouraging to me to know that we're actually in the middle of the pack, because it tells me that we're doing things right. We're not the highest, we're not the lowest, but we're right in the middle of the pack, which is good. And it's a very tight band, so that's also good. So it's a validation that our pricing models are correct, that we're sort of approaching the market and the risk the same way as a lot of our competitors. And so that's an important point for us as we continue to focus on this area and look to grow this part of the business. We want to make sure we are right there with our competition. So why is all this stuff important? Operational efficiency is important because without operational efficiencies, you know, this is a commodity business. And unlike other businesses where you've got really fat margins, we have thin margins. And when you're talking about commercial space, it's really thin margins. We're talking razor thin margins. So we have to have excellent operations in order to be competitive. And that's what we're focused on, and that's what we're looking to build, and we're using these metrics to get them. So on this commercial piece, this chart I think is really interesting because it tells you that we're actually winning a very small percentage of the deals. And one of the problems we're having here is we are not seeing a lot of feedback from our associates. So we see a lot of deals come through the door, we'll go through and price it up, and then we don't hear anything. It's sort of radio silence. So back to, I think, something Mike said earlier about communication, really important for us to get that two-way communication going. So we can then come back and say, well, what happened? Why did we lose this deal? Was it because, you know, we didn't have the lowest price? Was it the product wasn't right? What was it? And that allows us to become better. So that communication is one thing I really want to focus on. Here is not so much that, you know, we're only winning 4% or 5% of the deals. The real point is let's make sure the communication is there so we understand what's happening, and then we can turn around and make it better. That's what we want to get to.
What's the yellow?
The yellow means we're waiting. Yep. The red is lost, obviously. So this is basically the reasons why, you know, when we're losing these deals. So you can see that the largest proportion is waiting on feedback, which means we never heard anything. And after a certain period of time, we basically say, you know, we're actively working these deals. So 30 days have gone by, and it's kind of a stale deal. So we just don't have any information at that point. So some of the other initiatives we have going on. We talked about IT being a huge investment for us in 2014. And I mentioned it briefly earlier. We have this initiative right now around data and improving our data. We have a number of different things we're doing. One of the major first focuses we've been putting our efforts towards is improving data quality. And data quality is a huge, huge thing for us. We've, you know, there's a lot of change happening in our business. We have a lot of different vendors that we're using, and ensuring that we have consistency in the data across the entire organization is really important. Having one single system to report out of is going to be critical for us. So that way, no matter who in the organization is looking for information, we can have a consistent answer. And that hasn't always been the case. So that's what we're driving towards there. It's a very big project, and we have a team working on it that's been putting in a tremendous amount of time and effort. And hopefully you'll start to see some of the improvements there. You're starting to see better information flow through in your back office. Renewal process. So customer retention and renewal has been a big focus of ours. One of the first things we started to do is we knew that there was a lot of changes that needed to be made to the entire renewal process. I think early on, when I first joined a few months ago, I heard of some of the challenges around the renewal process, and so we took a hard look at that, and we've made a number of changes around that. Not only have we revised terms and conditions, so in states where we can do an auto renewal to fix, we are now going to be doing an auto renewal to fixed, and that should be rolled out to all states by the end of January.